Cheers, guys. Epics 911, this is VR Roundup, episode 21. Hope you guys are having a fantastic holiday season. We are over here in the Epics house for sure. A couple of things I want to touch on. The first is it is a good time, a lot of channels are doing this, to kind of look back at the year, look back at 2017, a year in review. I'm going to do that here too. It's going to be a two-parter, editorial style. Part 1, end of this video. Part 2, end of the Gaming Friday edition video. Going to look back at the year, not just in terms of virtual reality hardware, software, but my favorite games by platform overall. And we're also going to take a look forward, what I think we can expect from 2018, what I hope we get out of 2018, and hopefully your guys' thoughts and opinions on the same. Quickly, a couple of things I want to touch on. The first is the Google Earth VR video that I just put up. The interesting note was when I uploaded the video, it was instantly demonetized. I wanted to narrow it down to figure out exactly why it was getting flagged. I just kept changing variables until one got through and one didn't. It was one specific keyword, guys, that was getting it flagged. Virtual reality. The whole concept of this freaking channel summed up in 2 words. The title, virtual reality, demonetized the video. So when you see stuff like that, when a keyword can demonetize your video, yeah, that's when you get a little skeptical about AI bots and algorithms, because it doesn't sound terribly sophisticated, does it? But there you have it, guys. Thought that was strange. Wanted to share it with you. Suffice it to say, I chose to omit that and then upload it with no issue. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, guys, just wanted to extend a special thank you to all of you who supported me on Patreon these last few months, guys. And we'll touch on it in the part 1 and 2 when I look back at the year a little bit more. But thank you guys so much. Thank all viewers of the channel, period. But Patreon supporters especially, much, much appreciated. Thank you, guys. With that said, let's start off with our news. First story, guys, a little bit of a puzzle, and it's going to come across perhaps as me not appreciating the thought behind what this company did. And I'm talking about IKEA making headlines the last couple of days for supplying 14,000 employees with a virtual reality head-mounted display Christmas gift. And to the contrary, I almost feel, and I'm still kind of up in the air about this, but perhaps they didn't give it enough thought. They went with essentially the Google Cardboard in plastic, when for a few bucks more, they could have done something like a Daydream or perhaps something else VR related to kind of spread the cheer of virtual reality. You could put up for debate whether the Google Cardboard variant is even a VR head-mounted display. Yes, there are applications for it, but by and large, it's a 360-degree viewer. There's no tracking, there's no real controllers available. Some may support gamepads, etc., but by and large, definitely, I think what we can agree on is it's not the quality of VR we come to expect from Rifts, Vives, PlayStation VRs, Gear VRs, Daydreams, etc. In fact, when I first saw the article or the headline for it, that was my assumption it would be a Daydream, because really it's just a few bucks more expensive than what they paid. And in my opinion, the employees would have gotten a little bit more out of that. But like I said, I haven't completely made up my mind on that yet. Just came across that article myself a couple of hours ago, so it's still kind of milling around. But with that said, would love to hear what you guys think about that. Well thought out? Is it a great gift? Or did it require a little bit more thought? Did they pull the trigger perhaps a bit too fast? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Next up, Lenovo's upcoming Daydream standalone headset recently got FCC approval. The obvious suggestion there, guys, is that the company, Lenovo, getting ready and gearing up to launch their device very shortly. As I find out, I will let you guys know. And then next up, the Steam Winter Sale, which really has become a tradition. I know Steam, and jokingly so, we talk about other sales that they've come up with. And of course, there was the summer sale that they had to come up with when you start labeling seasons, right? But the winter sale, the one through the Christmas holiday season, has always been the one Steam is really known for. And there's generally some really good bargains. In fact, most people who ask me, should we purchase a game, 3, 4, 5 months before, I say wait. Unless it's a super new title released within those last 4 months, it's probably going to be a few percentage points off during the Steam VR sale. Case in point for me, Civilization 6, sure enough, significant savings for that game. I'm glad I waited. But this is a VR channel, so I wanted to mention, because there's quite a few VR titles up, some of my favorites. Let's start with Elite Dangerous, $7.50 US. An absolute steal, whether you've got a Rift or a Vive. If you like space games at all, cockpit-style VR, guys, you owe it to yourself. Pick up Elite Dangerous. It's not a VR game from the ground up. It just supports VR. But with that said, it's probably a better level of immersion for VR than almost any game actually built from the ground up to support VR. 75% off for that. Then there's Arizona Sunshine. You can grab that for $25. Project Cars 2. Audio Shield, which I've recently rediscovered. The higher difficulty levels that I hadn't ever tried in the past. Just a really fun workout. And I stress that because you're enjoying your music and using your hand-eye coordination. Getting a workout on the sly is the way I describe it. Talos Principle for $20, another steal of a game. And then, of course, Raw Data, not a huge percentage off, but considering what you get for your $32, a fantastic deal in my opinion. Bladerunner 9732, a VR fan project from Quentin Lenglet. This is a project we haven't looked at for, I think, close to about a year now. It started out as just an exercise Quentin did in 3ds Studio Max, a height mapping exercise, and, well, turned into an obsession. While it's only Deckard's famous 97th floor apartment that you can wander around in, I say only and use that term loosely because the attention to detail here that Quentin took care of is just absolutely staggering. Not only did he watch the movie multiple times to make sure that every prop and set piece he could find was recreated in the VR experience, but going to websites like Prop Summit and, well, other Blade Runner fan sites, all in an effort to ensure that the attention to detail was spot on. A lot of what you're seeing in this video fly through, you can interact with. Lights, switches, the balcony here, and the article jokes about being able to take your glass of scotch and check out the sights and sounds of the city, leaning over the balcony, sipping on said scotch. Very, very freaking cool. He's hoping to have it ready for download for HTC Vives by January 7th in its entirety and for free. No word on if it'll work on Rift, but trust me guys, one of the first things I'm going to try as soon as it's available, and I'll let you know. And next up, we have what's called Mux. And this was developed by Danish developer Deco Chan, who describes it as a revolutionary music sandbox. Users can create complex musical instruments. All the components are modular. There's also physics that comes into play. So you can see there's little balls rolling around. You can have them drop from heights, a certain amount to trigger specific actions. Basically, whether you have a taste for audio or not, there's really nowhere you can't go with this thing to build all kinds of unique audio contraptions. I've taken a look at some of the stuff that people have come up with on YouTube. There's quite a few videos, pretty impressive stuff. I don't know if I personally have the time or patience, to create complex audio contraptions like this, but if this is down your alley, check it out. So let's start things off, guys, with talking about 2018. Just kind of, we'll deal more with in the past a little bit towards the end of this discussion. But 2018, according to Upload VR, Road to VR, most of the virtual reality sites, VR Focus is another one, seem to agree that 2018 is going to be all about wireless. And I've kind of been keeping an informal poll, and this is going to tie into my kind of year in review for 2017. Haven't been able to purchase a TP Cast, but my informal polling conversations with those of you that I speak to, Twitter direct messaging or on Steam chat, not one of you who has either the TP Cast for Vive or for Rift or both, some of you have both, has expressed disappointment. You've come up with some negatives, but to a person, and we're talking about 7 people in total, to a person, you've all agreed that it makes it really difficult to go back to being tethered, with warts and all. And there's some warts. Some of you mentioned noticing green lines at the periphery, the far edges, but that once you're in game and immersed on the action, you don't really notice it. Some very minor latency issues, graphical pop-ins that perhaps aren't there when you're tethered. That's something I can look forward to. Definitely going to try to get my hands on probably the Vive version initially. And we're going to talk about 2018 some more, but that kind of ties us into 2017. And it's probably no surprise that earlier on in the channel's history, I seemed like a person with a lot of toys. One thing I've realized though, guys, my wife and I, we made the decision to move to the other side of Canada. And in doing so, we scaled back our life. I don't want to say something as absurd as saying we've embraced minimalism. We haven't, but we've tried to scale things back. We used to eat out pretty much every other night. Now, I can count on one hand in the last 7 months the number of times we've actually eaten out. I also don't have access to the toys I used to have. But the good part is I appreciate things so much more, guys. Since we've moved here, the focus has been squarely on enjoyment. Sure, I don't have the TP Cast for Rift or Vive. I don't have all the games that are getting released, but the games that I can afford, like Fallout 4, again, thanks to the Patreon supporters, and Skyrim, I've enjoyed. Probably willing to bet way more than I was about a year ago when, like I said, toys were no limit. So for me, 2017 has been all about readjusting the kind of consumer aspect of my life. And as a result, guys, virtual reality to me so much more enjoyable. Audio Shield, rediscovering that. I wouldn't have rediscovered that had I been kind of going along the old MO, because I would have been on to a dozen new titles and only playing, 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, that's basically been 2017 for me. It's been a year of change, but mostly rediscovering simple little joys in gaming, mostly in virtual reality as it relates to this channel. With that said, guys, that is it for this edition. Let me know what your favorite parts of 2017 were, VR or otherwise. Love to hear from you in the comments below. Until the Game & Friday edition, which, like I said, guys, will be the last one for the year. As always, cheers.